Hi, and welcome to this lecture about working in 3D space. Before we start, I just would like to say that the scope of this course isn't about 3D modeling or game art. We are going to create a simple scene, nothing fancy, to teach you how to manipulate game objects in 3D. But first you need to understand the anatomy of a 3D mesh. Now, a 3D mesh consists of vertices. This is a vertex, this is a vertex, and this is a vertex, and so on. Two vertices are connected by an edge. This is an edge, this is an edge, and this is an edge, and so on. Face, multiple edges are connected by a face. In this case, this face connects 4 edges. Sometimes 3 edges can be connected by a face. Now let's get back to Unity. In the previous lecture we have imported Toony Tiny People, so we are going to bring a model into the scene. I'm going to go with the policeman. Now it's already in the scene, but 0, 0, 0. We will disable the animator for now. We need to create a floor, sort of. So we'll go to 3D object, plane. As you can see, it's in the middle of the policeman. So we will reset the transform to bring it to 0, 0, 0. Now, for moving game objects in the scene, there are multiple tools for this. This tool is the move tool. Once you click it, you will see 3 arrows that appear in the game object. This is to move it on the Z-axis, X-axis, and Y-axis. And next, this is the rotate tool. Can rotate the game object around the X-axis, Y-axis, and the Z-axis. And this is the scale tool. Can scale it up or down. Now your view might be different because I have enabled shaded wireframe, as I just want to show you something. Now I will reset the transform for the policeman. Now to place objects in the scene, let's just add now another game object, a cube. You can move the game objects and try to be very careful to connect them together, but notice that when an object goes through another object, this will cause a lot of problems in the game. It will make flickering because the materials are on top of each other. So they need to be perfectly aligned. There are many tools that help us with this. There is the grid snapping to make the game object move in increment. You can also make the floor move in increment, but this should be done from the beginning in order to make it align perfectly. Sometimes it's difficult to align, but luckily we have another tool, which is snap vertex. You can access this tool by selecting the move tool, highlighting a game object, and then press and hold the keyboard key V. As you can see, by moving the mouse, it highlights a vertex. Once you click left mouse button for a vertex, you can move it. It will snap to a certain vertex that your mouse moves on in another mesh. Once you are satisfied with the position, you can release the mouse button. As you can see, it's perfectly aligned. We can do the same with the policeman. As you can see, the policeman has snapped to the vertex on the edge of the box or the cube. We can later, now I'm going to disable the snap to grid. You can move it to the center of the cube. Now we can add another model. Now the rotate tool. As I said, you can rotate the game object using the tool, or you can use from the transform property. Now it's looking the opposite side, so we can make it 180 degrees. And we will snap it to the grid also by holding V and left mouse click, and it will snap to the grid. Then we can move it to be facing the police officer. For the plane, we can scale it on the X direction. We will make it 10, and Z direction 10 as well. When you want to focus on a game object, you just select it and click or press the key F. We will add another cube, and we will move it a little bit, and with the scale tool we will make it thinner, longer, and taller. And I'm going to duplicate this one. You can duplicate game objects by holding Control and pressing D. Now you notice here there is another cube. You can move the cube away from the previous one and hold V to connect them together. You can see that they have snapped together perfectly. We will select both of them by holding Control and clicking both. Control D to duplicate again, and now we will select all of them. We need to snap them to the floor, so Control V, and they snapped to the floor, so we can move them on the floor. We will duplicate another wall and rotate it 90 degrees. Then Control V. Okay, now it's snapped perfectly. So you notice that the other wall is not aligned. So we can select both and Control V, sorry, hold V with left mouse button and snap to this wall. So Unity is not a modeling software, but it has some nice tools for prototyping, such as ProBuilder. We will talk about ProBuilder in another lecture, but just for now, this is a very simple scene. You can add more game objects to the scene, a capsule, also a cylinder. We can move it and scale it down. Also, you can snap to vertex. You can use also the handles here to change the view, to help you place the items in the game scene. So you can look from top down, then it will be easier to place the game objects if you have an overview of the scene like this. Then with Alt and left mouse dragging, you can notice that it's setting perfectly above the cylinder, but we can make sure also by holding V and left mouse, hold left mouse button and snap to the center of the cylinder. So that's it for a very simple scene. In the next lecture, we are going to talk about prefabs. I will see you in the next lecture.